Hi and welcome to your at-home workout. Today's session is going to be a descending ladder and we're going through the exercises of a banded glute bridge. We are doing plank with shoulder taps. We are doing single leg Romanian deadlift preparation, otherwise known as reverse foot sliders. We are doing dead bugs, which we're going to do with the resistance band. We are doing squats with overhead presses, again with the resistance band, and then we're going to do some Russian twists. So with this one, we're working our quads, we're working our hamstrings, we're working our glutes, we're working our core, got a little bit of shoulder action going on, so it's a really nice, well-rounded workout. What you want is your resistance bands to be anchored to a point that's probably a quarter of the way up your door. So you're going to use those to hold on to provide some tension for your dead bugs. You're going to need, what I recommend is your thickest and heaviest resistance band that you are going to fasten onto each other and coil round, that you are going to use to wrap around your legs just above your knees for your banded glute bridges. And if you happen to have a weight or a tin of beans or even a small child, if they're not too wriggly, then we'll use that for the Russian twists as well. So if you haven't warmed up already, use the warm-up video. We are doing 12, 10, 8, 6, 4 and 2, and it's going to be a circuit. I'm going to do your first round with you and then you can carry on from there. Now what I want you to do is I want you to take as little rest as you can in between each thing. The amount of rest I'm going to take is literally what it takes to do any setup with the bands. I've already got my heavy resistance band ready. I've got the next resistance band down in place ready for my dead bugs, and I'm just going to unclip that band for my squats with overhead presses. Anyway, hope that makes sense. Get yourself warmed up if you haven't already. Otherwise, let's get going. So, as always, I'm going to start by taking you through each movement and then we're going to get cracking. So hopefully you're nice and warm. You can practice along with me and then we'll start the circuit. So we're starting with our banded glute bridges. You're going to take your coiled resistance band, you're going to pull it up over your legs so it's wrapped round above the knee. You're going to lie down on a softish surface if you happen to have one, and you're going to bring your feet about hip width apart. I also want you to dig your heels as firmly into the ground as you can once they're placed as close to your bottom as possible. Then lie down, and what you're going to do is effectively push your bum up to form a bridge. At the top, you're really going to squeeze those glutes, and then you're going to come down. So up and down. And as you're doing that, you're using your knees to push the band apart. You're not doing this, you're not really pushing, it's just enough to provide some tension through the band. And that's it, that's the glute bridge. Then we have a plank with shoulder taps. And for this, you can either go 3/4 plank position, if you're in your 3/4 plank. As always, you want bum down, pelvis tucked under, everything held nice and tight. Or you can do a full plank, same position but on your toes. And what we're going to do with this is, when we're in the plank, we are going to shoulder tap. And with our shoulder taps, you're aiming not to move the rest of your body. So you want everything to be really nice and still. So if I come to the side, you'll see that when I tap my shoulders, there's almost no movement through my hips and back. And that is what we're aiming for. We want that real strong, stable core. Next, we have our single leg Romanian deadlift preparation. I like to call it the reverse foot slide because it's a really good preparation. It really gets you in the glutes and the hamstrings. I'm going to move the mat out of the way. And for this one, for anyone that doesn't recall, nice soft bouncy knees, 1 foot firmly planted on the floor, toes resting or just floating above the floor behind you, and then you are pushing your toe as far back as you can. And if you can, do it without holding on to something. If you're not stable enough, then use something to support. I'm going to bring you up just for a moment. What you can do is, if you're not quite stable enough, not to use something for support, but you're getting there, as you push back, bring up your arms and reach forwards. And what that does is it helps keep you balanced and it helps keep the movement really nice and long. We'll obviously do those on both sides. Next, we have our dead bugs. Now, dead bugs are a fantastic core exercise. Not necessarily in the I'm going to give you a six-pack kind of way, but more in general core strength. So your core muscles run all the way back from round here, all the way around the side. You've got muscles down here, and what we're going to do is we're effectively going to work all of them, because what we're asking your body to do is not let your back lift up off the floor. So start position for this is back completely flat on the floor, legs straight up, knees at 90 degrees, and then you're going to take hold of your resistance band, you're going to hold it above you, and you're just going to keep some tension on the band, and then you're going to lower down your legs one at a time and returning them. Now, as you do this, you're going to need to keep your back in complete contact with the floor, which is pretty challenging. If you find, despite your best efforts, that your back is rounding, just take down as low as you can. You can either make it easier by keeping your knees bent and tapping down alternating feet, it's terrible English, or you can just not take your leg down as close to the floor. But it is absolutely vital that your back stays in contact with the floor throughout the exercise. So that's that one. Next, we have, upside down, apologies, our squat with overhead press. Apologies for that up close and personal view of my tattoo. And for that, I'm unclipping the resistance band from the carabiner. I'm going to loop it around on the floor, and I'm going to stand on the band, making sure I'm relatively central, or as central as I can be. I'm going to bring the handles up in front, and what I'm going to do is simply squat and push up overhead. Squat and push up overhead. And as I push up overhead, I'm going to reach into the middle, but I'm going to keep my elbows nice and soft. So I'm not locking my elbows out, keeping them nice and soft. And from the side, I'll show you again, squatting back and coming up. Squatting back and down and coming up. And then, after that, we have our Russian twists. And for this, as I said, you can use a weight. There's some different ways of doing this. I'll move you around. You can either have your feet off the ground and make it harder. You can have your heels resting on the ground. But what we're looking for is to be halfway between a sitting and a lying position. And we're going to be tapping to either side. So it's harder with your heels up, easier with your heels down. One repetition is tapping both sides, okay? So, you should be warm, you should be relatively comfortable with the movement. So let's get to it. So we're starting with the 12. I'm going to go through everything for 12 reps, and then you're going to do 10, 8, 6, 4 and 2 independently. Okay, so no rest in between, only the amount of rest it takes to get each movement set up. So starting with our glute bridges, get your band up over your knees, and let's go. So digging your heels into the floor, feet hip width apart, close to your bottom, and go. 1, 'So if you're not feeling this in your glutes, Make sure you're giving them a really nice big squeeze at the top. Your heels are dug into the floor and your knees are pushing that resistance band apart. And 2 more. And that's it, band off, nice and fast. Coming down for your plank with shoulder taps. Now to make this easier and make you slightly steadier, you can have a wider base between your feet and go. 1, 2, keeping everything level, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 more, 11 and 12. Now if you find those get too hard, just take it down to a standard plank. And then we have our single leg Romanian deadlifts and go. Halfway through on this side. Should be feeling it through your glute on the supporting leg. One more. And then swapping sides. Last one. And that's that done. Next we're coming down for our dead bugs. So I'm quickly moving my mat and getting my blue band. Have clipped it back into my anchor point. Holding it with nice tension. Back in contact with the floor, go. So each side is 1. So we're on our 6th if you're following me. Keeping our back nice and firmly on the floor. Keeping that band nice and tense. Three more to go. 2 more. One more. And come up. Next we have our squats with overhead press. I'm going to bring you up so you can see what I'm doing. I'm also going to try not to drop the phone. Unclipping the band, looping it under your feet, making sure it's central in your squat position, and go. That's our squat with overhead press. And next, down for our Russian twists. Halfway between sitting and lying, heels on the floor or off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tapping each side. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now what I didn't tell you is that we've got a little bit of a cardio finisher, or a little bit of a cardio interval between rounds. Finisher's not the right word. And you can choose which one you do. You can star jump, you can high knee. I'm going to opt for squat jumps personally. So with our squat jump, squatting down and jumping up. If you can't squat jump, squat and knee. 15, and you're going to do 15 at the end of each round. Go. So you can see, still get nice and low. So, as you finish each round, 15 squat jumps or 15 squat knees. If you're squat kneeing, both legs count as 1. So now, you've got 10, 8, 6, 4 and 2 to go. Have fun, good luck, and let me know how you get on.